And we're back, people. Arsenal beat Wolves 2-0 and pick up where they left off. Comes around so quickly, doesn't it, Graham? I can't believe it. We're back. It's Tactical Insight. It was fun. I was sitting there on the train going through your notes thinking, it's been 3 months since we did this. Doesn't feel like 3 months. And weirdly, things haven't changed too much. Maybe not as much as fans would have wanted in terms of the team, the additions, whatever. But come on, we'll take more of the same when it comes to the results of 2024. And Arsenal making, what's that now, 15 wins in 17 in 2024? Maybe even one better than that, I can't remember, but it's great form we're in.
We ended last season with 16 wins out of 18, didn't we, in the Premier League? So that's 17 wins in 19. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Look, I'm absolutely buzzing to be back and really look forward to doing the show today.
Yeah.
We're so privileged and it's such a pleasure to break down this team. And I'm just wondering, this is our 4th season together, breaking down Arsenal on Tactical Insight. Could this finally be the year where we get over the line, win that Premier League title? You know, because 20 years without a title is a long time, James, and could be worse. We could be a Tottenham fan, 16 years without a trophy, couldn't we? And of course, Tottenham play tonight. So any Tottenham fan looking to get a bet on tonight, if they, a bet for them to win the Premier League this season, the current odds when I last looked before I left this morning were 28-1. And that basically means for every 20 quid you put on Tottenham to win the league this year, you lose 20 quid.
You know we're back when there's
a few
Tottenham joke from Graham. Fair play to you. Look, we fly into the match as we always do. No, we haven't reinvented the formula too much. Can you blame us? Let's go into it. Arsenal had 18 shots to Wolves and 9, 6 on target to their 3 on target. But this is the interesting stat. 365 passes to their 311. Significantly down for us. Significantly up for what we're used to the opposition having, but we like to see that the XG was 1.51 to 0.4. I think what these stats confirm to us is actually, we always say that the match stats don't always tell the picture of the game. I think these ones do, which is that Arsenal were dominant. Arsenal definitely created the better chances, definitely deserved to win, but perhaps a little bit more territory was given towards them we'd like to have seen, and we're going to break that down in this video. More attacking stats, 34 final entries for Arsenal to Wolves' 50, only further cementing the kind of point we were just making there. 61 deep touches to their 23, 19 zone 14 touches to their 13, with a 58.4% field tilt for Arsenal. Defensive stats, again, we're making plenty of tackles, 18 to their 19, 8 interceptions to their 6, 16 clearances to their 13, again, more than you expect, but our passes per defensive action is 7.6, not too bad, but we've seen it lower as well to their 13.8. Now, for a little bit of context of this game, the 11s going into the game were as follows. Zinchenko starting at left back. We know he kind of lost his place last season in the team, but he's been brilliant in pre-season, and I don't think anyone could disagree with his inclusion in the 11. Interesting that Martinelli's wrestled his place back on the left. Trossard's actually looked good in pre-season, was very clutch at the end of last campaign, but he gets the start on the left. Havertz leading the line despite Jesus looking quite sharp as well. And the big takeaway that you mentioned before this was that they went for a back 4 Wolves rather than a back 3. I thought Semedo, obviously he was missing, but I thought it'd be the likes of Semedo or Doherty with Nori powering up and down the touchline. But actually they went for a back 4 and tried to take the game to us.
Yeah, they did. I think I'll give Wolves a lot of credit on Saturday. I thought they really gave us a good game, and they gave a really good count to themselves. You have to remember Kuna wasn't even fit to start, and he could only come on second half. They've lost Neto. So they've lost a couple of big players.
Max Kilman too.
And Max Kilman's gone to West Ham. So they'd lost players, and he brought players in. Big Larson up front, making his debut. I thought they gave us a real game, and ultimately, as you said, they moved away from the back 5, which was a bit risk, you could argue. But overall, I thought it was a really good performance by Wolves, and if I was a Wolves fan, I'd be taking the heart from that performance.
Absolutely. Back to my notes then. So I think the thing we want to talk about here is, we always love this coming from Canon Stats. It was one of the early things I noticed. I think it was a trend through pre-season as well. Essentially what this kind of pass map tells us is not only the thickness of the lines, tells you the combinations between certain players, obviously Gabriel Saliba combining a lot, but also the size of the circle tells you how involved they were, and you've got the average positions there. The reason I want to mention this is because I really like the balance here. Obviously Declan Rice drifting a lot more to the left, Martinelli got quite central, but it looks like while I'm not a coach, never have been, it looks like a pass map I imagine Mikel Arteta would be very happy with in terms of the balance of the players, in terms of everyone seeming like they've got a particular involvement and similar involvement across both sides. And the reason we show you this is because if you go across to this one, which is last year against Everton, final day of the season, quite literally the last Premier League match we played before this one to kick off the campaign. It's a very different story. Ben White, Thomas Partey, Saliba, Ødegaard, Martinelli at the heart of everything down the right-hand side, where Arsenal tried to channel so much of their football, compared to this game where, again, we've improved the dynamics on the left-hand side. And again, I looked at the numbers into this. 34% of our attacks down the left against Wolves, 37 down the right, so a much better balance. Something that we've worked on in pre-season, Graham.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, as you said there, you pretty much said what I was going to say. I mean, the left-hand side has been really good pre-season. And I thought this was the starting 11 I expected Arsenal to go with. Zinchenko, as you said, had a brilliant pre-season, came in at left back. Calafiori is obviously still feeling his way into the club.
Yeah.
It was the midfield three I thought we expected, with Partey in the 6, Ødegaard right-sided 8, Rice left-sided 8, and Martinelli I thought had done enough to hold his position up top. Now, I thought that left-hand side, and we're going to go into this later in the show, I thought that was so good on Saturday, so good that I think it made the right-hand side better, if you understand what I'm saying. Because
totally.
the goals came from the right-hand side, because we got the balance right in this game with the left-hand side and right-hand side, which meant that when we switched to the right-hand side, players on the right-hand side had more space, like Bukayo did to get the cross in for the assist for Havertz' header. So yeah, clearly they've worked really well on that left-hand side. What we're going to talk about today was not only the Zinchenko coming back in and inverting and his passing up high, but Ødegaard even drifting over onto that left-hand side, which made it even more fluid.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, let's talk about that first goal, actually. We'll take it to the tactical pad to do it, because, and we're back to recreating goals, people. I've missed this. I haven't done it quite justice to the point you've made there, because the ball makes its way out to Saka, having, been with Ødegaard, been with, I think, Martinelli. Eventually, Zinchenko plays the ball out to Saka. So, there's a few players out on the left have combined before it's gone out to Saka. And the position he's got here, you'd think there's 2 men on him, but the reality is that actually they've stood off quite a lot, because they've almost had to be all the way over to that side of the pitch. They've been defending, I think we can probably annotate here a little bit. They've sort of been defending this area of the pitch first. So when the ball kind of makes its way, we'll show it in red, over out to Bukayo Saka, once it's made its way over to that side, it's quite difficult as defending team to reshuffle, get back into a shape and sort of know who's going. Well, if I go across, have we left space for an underlap for Ødegaard? We know that, Ødegaard, White, they'll make those kind of runs. So I think it kind of just illustrates that our football on the left and having better control and playing a lot more down that side freed up Saka for some of the moments he had in this game. And then, of course, you basically see it with the goal, because he just picks out an unbelievable cross for Kai Havertz. And I think Havertz was brilliant. We're going to talk about his numbers in this game. But I think Saka, with that cross, does so much of the work. And Havertz does brilliantly just to get into that area, get your head on it, and it's going to the back of the net. It's a great goal. It's
a great goal, isn't it? And I think you are absolutely right, because we were playing a lot down that left-hand side and then switching it to the right-hand side. They can't get out quick enough to Saka. Yeah. And I think from a defensive point of view, they would say we didn't close Saka down quick enough, but we've engineered that by the quick switch.
Yeah.
Now, Bukayo in this game, and I was actually behind that goal that he swung that cross in, he was getting in some lovely swinging crosses all through the game.
He was.
Into the middle. And he's got 2 roles in this team, either to hug the touchline, or he can come narrow, or he can swing in these crosses now. And he's got 2 types of cross at the moment, we've seen already at the start of the season. One is that lovely in-swinging cross for Havertz to attack into that corridor of uncertainty where the goalkeeper doesn't know whether to come or not.
Yeah.
And also he was sometimes, James, in that first half, swinging crosses into the back stick, which is another tactic that I've noticed this season Arteta's using, and we're overloading that back stick and players attacking from the far post. So, but on this occasion, 100% right. It was a great goal, a great cross from Bukayo and Havertz, who had, I thought, an unbelievable first half, and he had great moments in the game. He assisted for the second goal as well. He attacked it and headed it in with real aplomb.
Yeah,
and I think it was what we deserved, because at 30 minutes, they were trying to stop us playing football through the centre of the pitch, which we're going to talk about. But for that first 30 minutes, I thought we played well enough and deserved the lead.
I think we should go through Bukayo Saka's numbers as well, because I thought he was terrific. And some people actually came away from the game saying, well, he wasn't at his very, very best. And it's like, well, yes, I agree with that. What do we mean? He wasn't, tearing up 3 players on the touchline and running to the byline every time. But he was so productive with the space he did have, and he knew when he did have an edge on the player, I'm going to punish them for it.
And he was up against a really good left back. Nori, who I think is a fantastic footballer. It's a great battle. I really enjoyed watching that battle on Saturday.
Totally agree. We have so many numbers for you, or I say we, Graham, because Graham has really put his mind to the research here.
I had so much on Saka. And the one thing I'll say before you read these numbers, James, is I watched it in the stadium, and it was only when I checked the numbers, and it's a bit like with Saka, every time you watch him, you think he had a great game.
Yeah.
Then you look at the numbers, and you think, wow, he's first in everything.
Yeah, you're right. For so many of these, he ranked first. Apologies, I really should have highlighted, because you actually did, how many of these stats he led with. But 5 shots on the game, 5 of them on target. I mean, that's good.
That's incredible.
Every single one is hitting the target. We like that. 0.49 XG, 5 progressive passes, 4 deep completions, 5 key passes, 7 shot creating actions, 0.48 expected assists, 80% pass completion, and 6 progressive carries. And yes, we have a whole second graphic, because that's how many that's how much data we had to go through. 4 carries into the box, 7 progressive passes received, 15 touches in the box. He was fouled twice, made 2 tackles, 4 ball recoveries, a goal, assist, and just to highlight one more time, 5 shots and 5 key passes again, which were really, really key stats from that game for Bukayo Saka. He was terrific.
Even with no pre-season, he's still, he's just like he's never been away.
Yeah,
he's the one player who's back on it straight away. And
but do you think playing competitive football only so recently, mid-July, might have helped as well? Because it was a month ago he was in the Euros final, so maybe getting up to speed has helped as well with in that sense.
Yeah, possibly. I think you've got a fair point there, but I just think he's just incredibly fit.
Yeah,
and I think he's just incredibly talented. He wants to play.
Yeah,
and you know what? There was an interesting piece I read this morning coming up on the train from James McNicholas of the Athletic, saying that Arsenal are in the market for a striker, a 20-goal striker, but could Bukayo Saka be that 20-goal person this season for us? No team, only 3 teams in the last 15 years have won the Premier League with a player not scoring 20 goals, but his numbers, last 3 years, he's going up every year. 16 last year, and he started this season with a goal again. Could he be our 20-goal man?
Well, I think it's a fair question, and to be honest, and I don't want anyone to think I'm pivoting from my position of really wanting a forward. I've made that so clear on any piece of content I'm on, that I really think Arsenal needs something at least to freshen it up. Not necessarily someone that even starts every game, but give us something different, especially in terms of pace. But away from that, I think Saka's going to get 20 league goals this season. I said that in the season preview. If you told me Havertz got 15 league goals, I wouldn't be surprised. He just got 13, I think, in his last one. And if you told me Martinelli chipped in with 10, well, what have you got? 10 plus 15, you got 25, add another 20, you got 45 goals. I'd love to know how many front threes in the league are getting 45 league goals. I would venture maybe Liverpool's, maybe City's. I don't think many. So I'm not going to open the whole can of worms as to why, therefore, that we need a forward. But this idea that we can't win the league or we can't hit the numbers with what we've got, I disagree with. I just still think we're better off and we shouldn't leave anything to chance. But I definitely agree that Havertz can get, well, Havertz can, but Saka can get those big numbers.
Yeah, and we've seen when Liverpool won the league, Salah chipped in with 20 plus goals. And so I think the argument about you need a centre forward who's going to get you 20 plus goals, whereas City have demonstrated with buying Haaland and his numbers over the last few years, that definitely gets you over the line. I think Liverpool have showed if you've got an attacking player who can play on the inside and get him into goal-scoring positions and he gets those sort of numbers, there's another route to it. So, I think, you are right. I think we do need an attacking player. If we can't get a striker, somebody who's going to play across that front line, who's going to be able to, no one can replicate what Bukayo does.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Mikel said on Saturday in his press conference, teams know what he's going to do, but it's just you can't stop it.
Yeah.
And I think that second goal, when he gets it on the right-hand side, you all know what he's going to do, but it's just stopping it.
Yeah.
And if anything, the goalkeeper would have probably expected him to go on the other side of the goal, but he then put it near post and it went so quick, didn't it, into the net.
Yeah.
So, could he be our man? Can we keep him fit for the season? That's the thing. He always plays.
Yeah.
But I thought his performance, just going back to those numbers you read out, you think he's having a great game. You look at the numbers and they're just incredible. He leads every single number. And all those numbers, he led virtually all of them. And so really, you think, well, he had a great performance. And you look at the numbers, you think, wow.
Yeah.
And that's why he was man of the match. I mean, I came out of the stadium on Saturday thinking David Raya saved us with 2 great saves. It's probably the reason we got over the line. seems odd giving a man of the match to a goalkeeper in a 2-0 win, but he made 2 vital saves. The first one was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But in the end, it was Bukayo Saka, our star boy, who basically got us over the line, the assist for the first goal and a brilliant second goal. And it came at a time when Wolves were really in the game.
Yeah, totally agree. Kai Havertz, I thought, was terrific as well. I had him up there. I mean, Raya for sure is in the conversation. I thought Ødegaard, without getting maybe the numbers in terms of goals, assists, I thought Ødegaard was unbelievable. And I think that's just becoming his norm, that level of performance, the work rate, everything. He was brilliant. Kai Havertz had up there, and he sent me his numbers: 7 duels won, 5 shots. And I like to see that. I'd love to know how many games last season he had 5 shots in. It felt like he maybe had 2 or 3 at most. And I might be wrong about that. In fact, I can easily find that. I'll go to on FBref and I'll see how many shots he was having per game. But 5 shots in that game, he saw goal and he'd hit one. One was blocked, one with his right foot flew wide, but I didn't mind. He was having a go. There was one moment when Ødegaard did the drag back and Havertz was running at the fullback. I think it was Totti Gomez. And he's got a choice. Well, are you going to try cut in and get a shot? Or are you going to take him on? He took him on. He actually did get around him. But he got the ball stuck under his feet a little bit. 4 dribbles, 2 chances created, a goal and assist as well. I thought he led the line really, really well. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about what he did defensively that I thought was so good as well, that goes under the radar. But he was top as well. I was really happy with Kai.
He had some great moments in the game, and I think he's been one of our best players this year in terms of the year 2024.
Yeah.
He's outstanding end to last season. He's found his position in that team at number 9 now. Leads the line so well, and he's got such confidence now.
Yeah.
I mean, in the second half, you could argue he could do better when he got a cutback and he opened his body up and he put it just wide of the post.
Yeah.
But that shows the confidence of the player now. He's really found his place in this Arsenal team, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got that clarity of knowing.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. Clarity of knowing what his role is. And Gabriel Jesus is obviously a big season for Gabriel Jesus. It's a big season for Gabriel Martinelli. Mm-hmm. But for Jesus to get back in that front line at the moment, it's hard to see it, the way Havertz is playing, the way he's combining with Saka on the right, the way he can combine with Trossard on the left. He's adding goals and assists to his game. He understands also when to press. He's the all-round footballer now. He's become the footballer at Arsenal that Chelsea failed to find, in my opinion.
He's getting there,
and
sure.
He had some great moments on Saturday, and he was up there probably in the best 2 or 3 players for Arsenal today.
I thought he was very good. And by the way, I did have a quick look on FBref as you were talking there. 2.32 shots per 90 last season in the Premier League. So that's what he was averaging before. He's gone and doubled that with 5 shots in this game. And that's what I mean. It's good to see. You want your striker wanting goals, having efforts at goal and thinking, okay, there's a side to it, I'm going to hit this one. And it's good to see as well. Now, we've touched on all the positives, and we actually said before this show, let's touch on the positives, because we're back. Great win in the sunshine, 2-0 clean sheet. Lots of players did really, really well. But as a collective and as an overall team performance, it was far from perfect. I think that is absolutely fair reflection. So before anyone goes, you all say negative, we've talked on the positives first. But there were slight concerns. Let's talk about Arsenal's build-up and what Wolves kind of did as a shape, because we did struggle to play through them, and of course we're going to do that with the help of the tactical pad, as I just get that up in front of me. But yeah, talk to me. What were the struggles here?
I thought what Wolves did really well on Saturday, and I was watching it and I watched it back yesterday, was they obviously had a game plan to stop us playing through the middle of the pitch.
Yeah.
Right? And I think what they were aware of, Arsenal like to build up with a box midfield. Mm-hmm. So basically you would have a Zinchenko inverting next to Thomas Partey.
Yeah.
And then you have Rice on the left side of 8 and Ødegaard on the right side of 8. So there's your box 4 Arsenal players.
Yeah.
So they wanted to stop that. And they wanted to stop Arsenal from creating and through building up through midfield. And they did that really well for long periods. And they did that by their forward 2 players, Larson, the new striker, and Bellegarde, who basically would... I think, try and sit on Partey and Zinchenko in build-up to stop them from progressing if they could. Yeah. Obviously, then what you had is the other 2 midfielders, Gomez
and Lamina.
They were basically on Arsenal's 2 number 8s.
Yeah.
So basically there you had Wolves with that sort of like shape trying to stop Arsenal building through the midfield.
Yeah.
And I think that did give us some creativity issues. Mm-hmm. I didn't think we created... Most of our big chances came from headers, from crosses, and I think we struggled to build through the centre of the pitch. Thomas Partey in the first half he had a very good first half, by the way. He did get some good line breaking passes through out to the wings, but ultimately we couldn't get our game going through our box midfield in the way we would like. Odegaard was drifting from right to left. Rice was obviously sort of moving up on that left-hand side alongside Martinelli, and trying to take those two midfielders with them to create some space. But ultimately, the two forward players, if Larson wasn't pressing either Saliba or Gabriel, they were dropping back to stop Arsenal playing out and using their box midfield. So I thought we struggled to play through centre midfield on Saturday, and that was one of the issues.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think we did well to ultimately advance into the opposition half, for the first half in particular, and there were a lot of crosses. I mean, Saka, like you said, was attempting crosses to the back post. Times it was Saka attacking the back post from crosses that were coming from that side. Something Zinchenko's had a little bit in pre-season, and Martinelli. So, yeah, we're trying to throw different, problems. We're trying to throw different solutions.
Yeah.
Do you think Mikel Merino is going to help this if he arrives? I mean, I don't know how much you know about the player, but I mean, I just wonder whether actually having Rice, who's a bit of a ball carrier from deep, probably more than Partey in the six, he can sort of carry and attack space. Will that open the game up a little bit? We hadn't actually sort of talked about this before, but it's sort of just come to mind now. Maybe that is something with Merino in there that will help centrally.
I think that's what Arteta sees as the next part of his plan. So actually, I think Rice will drop back into the six, and I think Mourinho will play at 8. What he offers, of course, is elite dual-winning ability, and also he presses really well. And I think he's somebody who can score a goal, and I think that he's someone who I think is what Arteta wants. Arteta looks for two things in a player. It's not just what they do on the ball; it's what they do off the ball, and I think that's why he likes him. So yeah, I think it will improve that position, but then ultimately, I think the problem on Saturday really was, as much as Zinchenko offers that sort of like inversion into midfield and to play through the midfield, if teams do sort of mark us when we're playing out, how do we get round that? I mean, I noticed on Saturday, I thought we went more to the wings. So basically,
for sure.
Normally what Arsenal do is try and play through the middle of the park using their box midfield, but on Saturday, I thought they were using the right-hand side and the left-hand side, going there, not building up and then going there, but going there early, to sort of get players and then get players up to support. So on the left-hand side, for example, Martinelli would sort of like hug the touch line, Rice would push forward into the half space, and Zinchenko would obviously drift forward, and then Odegaard would occasionally drift across to the left-hand side to support. So on that left-hand side, I thought Rice's role in pre-season, he was more underlapping a lot more.
Yeah, he was a lot.
But in this game, he was like holding his position and around the box, trying to move a centre-half out or trying to take his marker with him to create space for Martinelli, for cutbacks, for people to come on to have shots at goal.
You saw that with that moment. Remember when it came into him, he flicked it around into Martinelli.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, he's almost, that's target man play, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Martinelli's found space and been freed up because of that.
Yeah, and obviously sometimes Odegaard going over onto that side, he would go out wide to enable Martinelli to come inside. That left-hand side, I thought, bearing in mind we weren't playing through our box midfield so much, but still was working quite well to get us some sort of like foothold to try and create chances. And then, of course, on the right-hand side, with Odegaard sometimes playing on the left, Havertz was coming more out into the right-hand side to support Bukayo. Bukayo was sometimes drifting narrow, and then Ben White was going on the overlap. And of course, Zinni on the left-hand side did occasionally overlap as well, but I thought he was more primarily in build-up, in passing
for sure.
on Saturday. So overall, I thought that we went to the wings, I think, quicker than we normally do on Saturday to get crosses in, and that's why our big chances came from headed chances, because they stopped us, Wolves, playing through the midfield. And I think we had something like 18 shots. Our normal average shots, that's pretty good. 18 shots, was it 9 on target?
I can't remember. But
something like that. And basically, we had a lot of touches.
6, I think.
Yeah, we had a lot of deep touches. But we struggled to create. And our XG for our possession and our numbers was quite low, I thought. So, and that's because I think that we just struggled to create because they stopped us playing through the midfield. Yeah,
I agree. I'm really glad when you were talking about Merino there, you were talking about what they do off the ball is so important to what they do on the ball. It doesn't always make the comps. It's not always as pretty.
Sometimes winning the ball back is important.
It could be things like that. And I really wanted to talk about Arsenal's defensive shape throughout this because I know Gary O'Neill's obviously very praising of Wolves, as were you. And I think everyone kind of said, yeah, fair play. They did give it a good go. And of course, there was that spell of possession where Yeah, minute 40 to 70. We're going to go through some of the numbers you sent because it does sort of show that Arsenal did lose a little bit of control. But I do think that the way we defend, in so many different ways is fascinating. And yes, it's not the side of the game we always want to see, but my word, are we so drilled. Now, if I just move the Arsenal players up the pitch here and we give Wolves possession, and it's just a rough build-up shape for Wolves, but again, we can go man for man. We've seen that, 4-4-2 press. Havertz and Odegaard very much leading the line, and their ability to press with intensity, to force errors, and also know when to is really, really impressive. If we move Arsenal into this shape a little bit, we did see Zinchenko sometimes inverting on the press, something that Jamie Carragher has himself done analysis on when Arsenal beat Wolves 3-1 last season, to ensure that we were almost in shape that we want the players in when we retrieve the ball. We were sort of playing with Zinchenko, following whether it be a Hwang inside or coming onto Bellegarde. So again, you've kind of got Arsenal's build-up shape there, ready to go for when those transition moments come. But the big thing I felt we saw a lot was this. Arsenal basically in a deep block. We've played in a few different ways. Sometimes it's Martinelli and Saka tucking in really, really central so the passes aren't there to those players and we force players wide. That means that our back four is a little bit more stretched, but that's okay because we trust them. We've got the numbers. We track the underlaps as well. But sometimes we'll also see maybe Zinchenko White a little bit more tucked in with Martinelli and Saka on the outside, making a back six. So we've defended in so many different ways depending on what the game needs. But the thing I noticed so much against Wolves, and we were so good at this, was the ball inside to a player like Gomez, and there was Havertz just to nick it. It'd be a bad touch, it'd be a touch on the outside, whatever it might be, and Havertz would almost go, he'd stay far enough away to say, yeah, you're secure, you've got the ball, slightly heavy touch, I'm onto you and I'm going to win it. And it created transition moments, 7 in fact, with only 1 leading to a shot, which you sent that data on, which tells us that actually Arsenal maybe didn't make enough of those transition moments, and the moments we did press really well. But I came away from this match feeling really positive, even though we had a lot of defending to do, more than we'd want to do. The way we defend is so good.
I thought we defended well, but I will say this, James, I thought there was 1 or 2 sloppy passes in the second half. There was one moment...
But that's a possession moment.
Yeah, that's a possession moment.
Error,
we defended well. What you're trying to analyse there is spot on. What you actually did there was perfect. But it's just individual errors.
For sure.
And I thought this team had moved away from that under Arteta, We didn't see it that much. And you can maybe excuse it that players are coming back. It was the first game of the season and everything. But even Saliba, as great as he is, gave one really poor pass away on the edge of our box, which created a shooting opportunity for Kuna. And if he could have, I'm not saying he obviously isn't yet quite up to speed.
Sure.
But you just imagine if he did that against Mo Salah or a top quality player like Haaland, you'd be punished. So, Thomas Partey a couple of times in the second half made really loose passes around our box that really got the crowd quite edgy around where I was standing, So I thought you are right. We defended, the shape was perfect and looking. I don't like to see us. I want to see us further up the pitch.
Of course, absolutely.
And Mikel, I think there was a lack of intensity in that second half, and for some reason we were 1 up and seemed to be sitting on it. It was unusual for Arsenal at home to sort of like a mid-table team. If no disrespect to Wolves, but that's what they are. And it's almost like the last 10 minutes of the first half, we started to sit back a bit, but they didn't sort of like get into our final third. They had they started to gain more possession. And apart from that one moment they fashioned where Larson had the header which Raya saved, they weren't a threat. But then in the second half, they were starting to become a threat because basically when you retreat and you allow them to sort of then, you retreat into a mid to low block and you're allowing them to come into your territory, you're only 1 goal up. It only needs them to do something special or whatever, even a lucky deflection or something just falls for someone, and they're back in the game. So, albeit we were defending well, and obviously we do defend well as a team, I was a little bit concerned that we sat back, something I don't see very often under Arteta, a lack of intensity, I think personified by Partey's performance, which I know we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But we sat back and they had a lot of the ball. They lacked a cutting edge. I think if they had someone top quality up front, they might have taken advantage of the way we were playing. And as I said, we were indebted to Raya on a couple of occasions.
This is like you said, I just feel like a lot of those were from errors. I'm not trying to let people might be watching this thinking, James, you just admit we weren't great for part of the game. And I totally do. Then the numbers you've sent, they had 9 shots between minute 40 to 70. 6 of those were on target. 1 big chance was created. They had 3 shots from high turnovers of a 0.3 XG. Like there were moments they had that we could have been punished more. And Raya obviously made the big save in the first half, and he was busier than we'd want him to be. But I think actually those were errors and lapses of concentration. I actually, even the big save from Raya when he sticks his hand out comes from Havertz giving away the ball in the first half in his own half.
And also Saliba not getting across quick enough.
Yeah.
Larson peeled off Saliba too easy for me.
Yeah.
Now, when I saw that in the stadium at real time, and I've seen it on the telly, it doesn't look so good as in real time when you're in a stadium. That was a top save because when that ball came in and Larson gets ahead of Saliba and gets the flicked header, that was travelling at pace. The goalkeeper's weight was on his other foot. He was going across to one side of the goal. And he literally had to transfer his weight across to the other side. But not only that, he had to get a strong hand on that. And I swear, in the stadium where I was looking, that was past him, and he clawed it out. I think of that great Seaman save in the FA Cup semi-final against Sheffield United. It wasn't as good as that, but it was still a top save. Not only to get his weight back, to get a strong right hand to get it out as well. That was a top save, and that was a big moment in the game at 1-0.
Yeah, it was.
So that just showed that as you said, the Havertz mistake, Saliba not picking up his man well enough, not probably. If this had been Saliba in a month's time, he would have been across there to deal with that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to round off the show in just a sec, but very quickly I wanted to mention Partey's numbers because, as you mentioned via these numbers as well, that there were some really impressive things. The 4 key passes, 3 progressive passes, 3 box entry passes, tackles, ball recoveries. He did some good work, but he did also lose the ball 5 times in his own half, which you were saying is pretty extraordinary. You wouldn't expect that from basically any starting DM for Arsenal. That's going to put us in a bit of trouble. And he did sort of fall away a little bit, and it kind of captured Arsenal's performance a little bit.
I think he struggled second half. I thought he had a really good first half. He some great line-breaking passes first half to set up 4 shots. Second half, the 55 minutes, he looked physically whacked, almost like gone. He was struggling with mobility and athleticism to get round the park. And then he was getting sloppy 1 or 2 passes. Yeah. And I thought that, he was struggling. And I thought that created issues for us. And I thought that Declan Rice was also struggling as well.
Of course,
And he went off with cramps. So Partey stayed on for a full 90 when really I was expecting to be hooked by Arteta. I thought his performance was a little bit concerning for me. He was great in the first half, but the fact that I think he struggled in the second half after an hour, I thought he looked, he looked cooked. That's a concern for me.
Yeah, I feel, just very quickly on Partey, I feel that we've seen on the ball again in this Wolves game that he can do some really nice stuff. He can get, there are times, moments of sustained possession from Arsenal where he was just at the heart of it, getting us moving, and then there were moments where he fell away physically. And I think maybe for certain games and more long-term, Rice is the 6. But Partey can play a part, and the Marino signing makes complete sense because we can't leave ourselves too short.
I thought he wasn't pressing either. I thought he was sitting off. Normally you go and compress the space. I don't know if he can
press the way he would.
Yeah, and maybe that's because we never know why. Sure. But I love Thomas Partey as a player, and so I'm not criticising him. It's not meant to be people can say, "Oh, you're criticising Thomas Partey," but I just thought I have to be objective, and I looked at it, and he was brilliant in the first half. But I just thought after 60 minutes he looked tired and he was struggling in that position. But but he was, as you said, it seemed to sum up the team. The team seemed to fall away in that period, and Wolves in that 30-minute period caused us a lot of issues. And if they got back to 1-1, it would have been difficult for us, wouldn't it?
Yep. Right, we're getting on the roundup stats. We haven't done this in a while. But there we go. Arsenal beat Wolves 2-0. Raya had the big save. Obviously, Havertz and Saka were the match-winning moments. It was
great to see Timber coming on as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
To replace him. Anyway, just a couple for you.
Go for it.
James, just to round off our first show of the new season. William Saliba is the fastest Arsenal player to reach 50 Premier League game wins in the club's history. Did you know that?
I did.
66 games he's played for Arsenal now, 50 wins. And I think he's been responsible for a lot of those wins.
Yeah, I agree.
Kai Havertz, who we obviously been lauding up today, now has 16 goals plus assists in 13 games as a striker for Arsenal. So who says, James, that Arsenal need a new striker?
Well, that would be the question for the comments, everyone. Let us know, do Arsenal need a new striker? Do they just need a new forward, maybe a wide player? And how do you feel about Arsenal going into Villa this weekend? Of course, a clean sheet, some goals, and actually probably a better individual performances than it was a collective performance. We're going to have to certainly up the levels for Villa, but lots of positives as well. Graham, a big thanks. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you back. Tactical Insight is back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if you did. Any constructive criticism, feedback, anything else you want from the show, let us know in the comments. Any thoughts as well, and subscribe to the channel so you can be kept up to date with everything that's happening in the world of Arsenal here on AFTV. See you soon.